Welcome back to Behind the Box. Today we're doing a review on Kingdom Death Monster. So big thank you to my brother, he's lent us his copy of the game to do this. We're in a 4-player campaign with him at the moment. I'm quite far into it, so we felt comfortable doing the review.
So Kingdom Death Monster is a boss fighting, settlement building, cooperative survival game for 1 to 6 players. There's a 5 to 6 player variant that we just haven't tried yet. The game exists in 2 parts. A hunting phase, where you'll be tracking down and hunting a monster that you'll hopefully kill and harvest for resources. And then a settlement phase, where you're back at camp or back at your community, and you're using those resources to build weapons, and you're making decisions as a group to hopefully get yourself stronger and ready for the next fight.
So the gameplay is both very simple and also really complex. So it's really simple because mostly it's just done through dice rolls. So combat, you just roll dice. Resolving events and activities, you just roll a dice, compare it to a chart in a book, and then just that's sort of what the outcome is then. But it's also really complex because there are a lot of smaller rules, and it does get a little bit heavy sometimes, but we'll talk about that more later on. Now, with the dice rolling mechanic and the chart system, it adds so many great storytelling opportunities, and it makes your campaign really unique to your group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really true. I love the storytelling aspect of it, which is strongest, I think, in the settlement phase. So in the settlement phase, you and your team, you're going to be making decisions for this community that you've built together. So how do you react to death? Do you have any customs around that? How do you react to childbirth? And how do you raise your children? And then what's your outlook as a community, a society? What's your outlook on this scary world that you're in? And how do you deal with that as a collective unit? It's really cool, and it's so thematic, and it's fun to do this settlement phase as a team. It's my favorite part.
It is a great part of the game. I think there's a lot to be said as well about the hunt phase and the storytelling elements that gives you. So the way it works is you go on a hunt, you have to first complete a series of events, again, rolling dice, comparing it to this table, and seeing what happens. And again, it'll be different each time you do it. So in one of ours, my brother, who had a really clumsy character, fell off a cliff or something like that. It just really adds to that story, and he gets like an injury going into the fight, adds a bit extra to that theme. And then when you do the fight, it's a really repetitive system, but it's a really unique system. So it's repetitive because you have to kind of hunt the same things over and over again. Mm-hmm. But that also allows you to sort of experience what these hunters are experiencing, and that is learning about these monsters. So what sort of attacks they can do, and how their deck works. So they have a deck of cards that is their actions, and when you fight against them, it'll be in the same order that you'll just sort of cycle through, and so you'll learn the patterns and learn how they're going to attack, and it just gives you a chance to, I think, view these hunters through their own eyes, like, and their own experiences, and the stuff that happens in the fights, again, can, like, permanently change characters. So I think there's still a lot to be said about the storytelling that doing the hunts can do as well, even if it is a repetitive system.
Yeah, it can be a grind. But if you've got a good team of people that you're playing with, that's really into the role-playing aspect of it, I don't notice the grind as much.
No.
Because you've got people that are really breathing life into their characters. I mean, some people say, they'll recommend, don't play this game with the view of really investing in your characters that you have. But I kind of feel the opposite. I think, yes, your characters are going to die, so don't get too connected with them. But make characters that are fun, make characters that are vibrant and memorable, and just really have fun with it. That's, I think, the best way to play the game.
I definitely agree, yeah. You mentioned there about don't get attached to your characters. I mean, I think the rulebook actually advises that you don't even consider a character to be your character, but instead for all the characters to just be available pool of characters. Now, I mentioned before as well that there's a lot of smaller rules. So even though it is a simple game and at its core is pretty straightforward, there's a lot of really specific ways that things interact.
Yeah.
Specific symbols and iconography that you always will be checking the rulebook. When we play, the rulebook is essentially the 5th player. And that's not just because it does have all these tables and charts that you'll be comparing to all the time. But yeah, it's something where you need to have everyone sharing the load because there's so much. So you've got the settlement phase, where you need to keep track of all your resources and everything that goes with that. And then the monster and how that's activating each turn, someone will kind of want to be monitoring that. If you've got one person doing it, they're not going to have as good of a time.
It can be exhausting.
It can, yeah. It can be a lot for one person to have to do.
Yeah. Now, the rule book is kind of cool because it is an actual book.
Yeah.
So it's it's details like that I think are reflected in the price of the game. So this game is pretty extreme and it has a price to match. I think right now it's somewhere around £300.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's not the kind of game that you just see in a local game store and see on a shelf and think, oh, I might pick that up and bring it home. This is the kind of game you want to put a lot of thought into before you spend all your money on it.
I agree. I think though as well, I mean, somebody that's going to buy the game knows that, and they know what they're getting with the game. I will say, for the price, you are getting a lot of stuff, and the quality of it is fantastic. So there's a lot of really good stuff. As you mentioned, the rulebook, it's a book. It's properly bound. And all the pieces, all the components, the miniatures, detail-wise, are some of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They are fantastic, and you get a lot of them. Now, something that I'm just going to mention, it's not necessarily a negative or a positive, it's sort of a perspective thing, but you have to make your miniatures. You can't play the game until you've done that. So, for some people, that might be a huge plus because they love that idea of making your own models. They're super highly detailed. For other people, that could be something that is a barrier to actually getting it to the table.
Yeah. So
that is something just to consider with that. But otherwise, I mean, I have no complaints about the quality. The rulebook right throughout has some incredible artwork, and it's full of it. It's just absolutely loaded with incredible components and art, and it is. The production is superb. It
really is. It really is spectacular. Something that we really do need to mention before we go any further is the theme. It is mature, and it is grotesque. It's kind of a horror monster themed game. So expect that kind of gruesome artwork. And the characters, the women especially, are highly sexualized. So if these types of things are the kind of stuff that's going to turn off some of your players, I certainly wouldn't recommend getting the game.
No, and if you're not very familiar with the theming and the artwork and the components like that, I'll leave a link to the Kickstarter in the description. Have a look. The guy that's running the Kickstarter has basically everything that you can see in the game on the Kickstarter page. So look through it. Just before you go ahead with it, make sure that you're comfortable with it, your gaming group will be comfortable with it, because that can be something that will be something that people won't want to play. I know that a lot of reviewers, this has been a big point of contention.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I get it. So definitely double check it before you go ahead with it. But otherwise, for me, final thoughts, I mean, it's, again, similar to Gloomhaven, it's an epic game. It is immense. There's a lot going on. Everything looks fantastic. I'm excited to keep playing it. The stories we've made have been fantastic. I've already got some great memories playing this game of, my first character was called Zeusosaurus Rex. And for some reason, whenever fights happened, something would happen where his pants got removed until he was constantly nude from the waist down. He then died, but he'd already had a son. So I started playing his son, Brownlonius Rex. Same exact thing. And these are all random things. It's not like I'm choosing this. It's dice rolls or an event that says, oh, this person loses their pants. It was like, before a fight starts, they would just sort of fight starting? Okay, pants off. It's time to go. And it's stuff like that that really just added to that, and it makes it a really memorable game. I enjoy playing it. After we're done, we're always laughing about all these things that have happened. And it's one of those things. This is that type of game. Like you said, you're not just going to see it in a store and go, that looks good, I'll buy it for £300. If you're on the fence about it, I'd double check a bit more about it. I'll leave a link to a really good playthrough that the Beasts of War did. Again, that'll be in the description. Watch that. It's a fantastic look at the game. But I think most people watching this, they already know what they want. If you want to buy this game, if you think your gaming group's going to be comfortable with it, I would say go for it. But if you're not sure and you don't think the theme's going to resonate, you're not going to play it very much, I'd pass. there's better games. Not better games necessarily, but there are the games for cheaper price that
Yeah,
give you the same sort
more
of
affordable.
experiences. Yeah. What about you? What final thoughts for you?
I'll be honest, when, your brother first said that he was getting this and that we'd be playing it, I was a little hesitant because I'm not a big fan of the theme. But.
And the difficulty.
Yes. But the storytelling aspect of it and the role-playing opportunities that are there, that really won me over. And, I love it when we get together and we play this game. And like you said, I have so many fond memories of our gaming sessions, so it is fun. Although I never would have spent £300 on it, I can see why people would.
Yeah, it is one of those games. It's an epic game. It is a sort of a milestone thing, similar to Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's everything. If you've played it, let us know what you think. And if you think you're going to get it, then let us know. And if you have any questions as well about the game, we'll try and answer them as best as we can. And I'll leave all the links to the game information, the Kickstarter, the playthrough from the Beast of War, and our social media in the description down below. But until the next one, we'll see you soon.
See ya, bye. Game type that we all.
Oh, neat.
Bernie, what are you doing? He was practicing gymnastics.
Yeah, it was.
Silly plant.